What if I told you that the greatest basketball debate of all time was rigged from the very beginning? Not rigged by the players, not rigged by the teams, but rigged by us, the fans, the media, and a 17-year-old kid who never asked for any of it. On February 18th, 2002, Sports Illustrated did something they had never done before. They put a high school junior on their cover. His name was LeBron James, and the headline read, "The Chosen One." He was 17 years old, playing at St. Vincent St. Mary High School in Akron, Ohio. And with those two words, the weight of an entire sport landed on his shoulders. Writer Grant Wall, who penned that cover story, later admitted he worried they were going to ruin the kid's life. But the hype was already unstoppable. LeBron's high school games were being broadcast on ESPN. Scouts were calling him the best prospect since Michael Jordan. And that comparison, the one to Jordan, had already begun before LeBron ever touched an NBA basketball. In May 2003, before he was even drafted, Nike signed LeBron to a 7-year deal worth $90 million. The richest rookie shoe contract in basketball history. Think about that. $90 million before playing a single professional game. And then on June 26th, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected him with the #1 overall pick. The entire city celebrated like they had already won a championship. But here's the thing nobody talks about. From day one, every single thing LeBron did was measured against Michael Jordan, not against other rookies, not against other great players, against the greatest of all time. No athlete in the history of sports has ever carried that burden at 18 years old. LeBron delivered immediately. Rookie of the Year in 2004, and by 2007, he single-handedly dragged a roster that had no business being in the finals all the way to the championship round. He put up 48 points in a double overtime thriller against Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals. It was one of the most dominant individual performances the playoffs had ever seen. But the Cavaliers were swept by San Antonio in the finals. And instead of praising what LeBron accomplished with so little help, the narrative became, Jordan would have won. Jordan never got swept. Jordan found a way. That was the standard. Not what LeBron did, but what Jordan would have done. He won back-to-back MVP awards in 2009 and 2010. He was statistically one of the best players in league history. And still, the conversation was always about what he hadn't done, win a ring.
Everybody is on pins and needles across the country, particularly those.
On July 8, 2010, LeBron made the most controversial decision of his career. On a live ESPN special watched by 10 million people, he announced he was taking his talents to South Beach, joining Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Cleveland fans burned his jersey in the streets. His own former owner, Dan Gilbert, wrote an open letter calling him a coward. And the Jordan comparisons hit a fever pitch. Michael Jordan would never leave. Jordan built his dynasty in Chicago. Jordan didn't need help. But here's what that argument conveniently ignores. Jordan had Scottie Pippen, one of the 50 greatest players of all time. He had Dennis Rodman. He had Phil Jackson drawing up the plays. Jordan had an incredible supporting cast. But because he stayed in one city, the narrative became that he did it alone. LeBron asked for help and was crucified for it.
It's no way that, just hindsight, I would have never, called up Larry, called up Magic and say, hey, let's get together and play on one team. I mean, things are different. I can't say that's a bad thing. I mean, that's the opportunity these kids have today. I mean, in all honesty, I was trying to.
In Miami, LeBron became a different animal. He won his first championship in 2012 and then went back-to-back in 2013. But even winning 2 rings wasn't enough, because in 2011 he lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the finals, and that series defined him more than the titles. He averaged just 17.8 points in that series. He disappeared in the fourth quarter of crucial games, and for years that became the ammunition. Jordan never choked in the finals. Jordan was 6-0. LeBron is a choker. It didn't matter that Jordan lost in the first round 3 times before he ever reached the finals. Nobody brought that up. The standard for LeBron was perfection, because that is what the Jordan comparison demanded. In 2014, LeBron came home. He wrote a letter in Sports Illustrated titled, "I'm Coming Home," and Cleveland forgave everything. The jerseys that were burned were replaced with new ones overnight, and LeBron had one mission: bring a championship to the city that hadn't won a major sports title in 52 years. In his first year back, he carried the Cavaliers to the finals despite losing Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving to injuries. He nearly beat the 67-win Golden State Warriors by himself. But the real moment, the one that silenced every critic, was coming. 2016, the NBA Finals. Cleveland versus Golden State. The Warriors had just set the all-time regular season record with 73 wins. They were up 3-1. No team in NBA Finals history had ever come back from 3-1 down. And then LeBron did the impossible. He won Game 5 on the road. He won Game 6 at home. And in Game 7, with the score tied at 89, Andre Iguodala broke free on a fast break. It looked like a guaranteed layup. The series was about to end. And then, out of nowhere, LeBron James came flying from behind and pinned the ball against the backboard. The chase-down block. It is the single most iconic defensive play in NBA history. Minutes later, Kyrie Irving hit the dagger 3. And LeBron collapsed on the floor in tears. He had done it. 27 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks in Game 7. Cleveland had its title, and LeBron James had delivered the greatest finals comeback of all time. On that night, even the Jordan comparisons didn't matter, because what LeBron did was something entirely his own.
Get your highlight reels rolling. Number 23's in the house.
Here is the truth that gets lost in every debate. LeBron James and Michael Jordan are fundamentally different basketball players. Jordan was a 6'6" shooting guard with the most lethal mid-range game in history. He averaged 30.1 points per game for his career, 10 scoring titles. He was an assassin. LeBron is a 6'9" forward who sees the game like a quarterback. He is the only player in NBA history in the top 5 for both points and assists. He averaged 7.4 assists per game compared to Jordan's 5.3. He grabbed nearly double the rebounds. They didn't play the same position. They didn't play in the same era. Jordan played under hand-checking rules where defenders could physically push you off your spot. LeBron plays in the three-point revolution, where spacing and pace have completely changed the game. Comparing them is like comparing a surgeon to an architect. Both brilliant, both the best at what they do, but doing entirely different things. But the biggest difference between them has nothing to do with basketball. It is the media. When Jordan played, there was no Twitter. There was no Instagram. There was no YouTube with 1 million hot take videos dropping every hour. Jordan's losses happened and were forgotten by the next morning's newspaper. LeBron's losses become viral memes within seconds. Every bad game becomes a trending topic. Every loss in the finals becomes a permanent stain on his record. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe debated LeBron versus Jordan almost every single day for 7 years on national television. An entire industry was built around tearing LeBron down or building him up compared to a ghost. Not the real Michael Jordan, but the mythologized, perfect, untouchable version of Jordan that never actually existed.
I never have compared myself to MJ because our games are totally different, James said. I have been a point forward/forward point my whole life. I have always looked for the pass. MJ kind of looked for the shot.
Looking for James, he's got it.
On February 7, 2023, LeBron James did something that was once thought impossible. He passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, 38,388 points. More than anyone who has ever played the game. He did it with a vintage fadeaway jumper against Oklahoma City at Crypto.com Arena. The entire arena stood for minutes, as Kareem was there in the front row. And for one moment, the Jordan debate was completely irrelevant. Because this record belongs to LeBron alone, not Jordan, not Kobe, not Wilt, LeBron. He has played 22 seasons, 20 All-Star selections, 20 All-NBA teams, 4 championships with 3 different franchises. He has more total points, rebounds, and assists than any player in history. He literally does not have a statistical comparison. So, was LeBron unfairly compared to Jordan? Absolutely. Not because the comparison itself is wrong. Comparing great players is what sports fans do. But because the comparison was forced on him before he ever had a chance to write his own story. LeBron James was never going to be Michael Jordan. He was never supposed to be. He was supposed to be LeBron James, a completely different kind of greatness. One that prioritizes longevity over dominance, playmaking over scoring, versatility over specialization. And maybe, just maybe, the reason the debate will never be settled is because it was never a fair question to begin with. You cannot compare a career that was defined by 6 perfect championship runs to a career that was defined by 22 years of sustained excellence in a completely different era. They are both the greatest, just not in the same way. And that should be enough. So what do you think? Was the LeBron-Jordan comparison fair? Or was it a burden that no player should ever have to carry? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more NBA deep dives.